UFO, and when he does so, they won't fire. Now, this kind of information just generally doesn't reach the media, and it should. And at the citizens' hearing, his son had actually turned up because unfortunately Milton Torres is in poor health, and his son spoke and he said it's absolutely scandalous that these people who fight for the country in Korea, Vietnam, etc., all around the world in different theatres of war, who would normally be deemed as experts, are suddenly trivialised. And he said it's absolutely wrong, and it is absolutely wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I agree with you, and I think, the fault is with the media, and I think a lot of it is just lazy journalism. It's not like the information's not there for them to find it. They can find it, but all they're interested in is sort of, selling a series to this channel and then a series on something else, to another channel, and they're not, like you said, they're not experts in the field. They don't really know much about it, and yet they're the ones who are dictating what appears, and then you have the byproduct of, the witnesses made to look stupid or whatever. So.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, it's not surprising, and it's worked incredibly well, this media bias, which I think originates from the Robertson panel in '53, which was CIA put together, really, where they said then we're going to have to strip the aura of UFOs, of flying saucers as it was then, and we've got to actively engage with the media to dumb it down, and that's what they've done ever since. So it's not rocket science. So for the last 60 years, if you were brought up and you're under the age of 60, you are generally, other than your parents, you're going to learn everything about life from books, radio, TV, newspaper, and the cinema. And that's your media input. And if your media input is saying there is nothing to this subject, you are going to have a subtle brainwashing technique that says there's nothing to the subject. So if the man on the street is suddenly put a camera up to him and say, do you believe in UFOs and E.T., they'll probably go, well, there's a lot of, might be life in space, but I don't believe in it now, kind of thing. But that is going to change, and we need to engage with the media and get them to realise that there is some very credible evidence, and that's, again, why I'm trying to reach out to media executives or whatever, because I want to make a groundbreaking series. And it will happen sooner rather than later, for the simple reason because of Mars. Because when that life is out there, they will then, TV executives may just have to think, what if, for the very first time, and I think the time will be right then for a TV series to tell the truth.
All right, cool. And just to go back to something that you briefly mentioned earlier, you said you potentially you're planning, I'm thinking of doing a book about your entire research as well.
Yeah. If I can find the time, yes, I really should have a book. I know that. Everybody says you should have a book about your police cases.
Should.
And I should. But believe it or not, when I was in the police, I tried on many, many occasions to go through to mainstream publishers and say, look, there's not another book like it. There's never been a book totally dedicated to police officers anywhere in the world, unique selling factor, but no one publisher would go for it. So now, in the end, I'll probably have to self-publish unless somebody steps out of the woodwork. But yes, I do have more than enough material for the book, and there will be a chapter on the discipline, because I think it was totally wrong, and I was basically disciplined for my beliefs, which was wrong, and it's really a question of now starting the magazine, and like I'm saying, I've got my fingers into lots of things. I'd like to write and present a TV series. I'm trying to promote the Rendlesham script. Doing the magazine, there are only so many hours in the day. Plus, you have a life. You have a lovely wife. You're not going to have that if you devote all your time to everything else other than her. So it's striking a balance, which is difficult. But yes, I would like to do the book, and I keep saying, yeah, I'm going to do it this year. I think realistically, I've got to concentrate on the magazine and seeing that becomes a success, because I think it will. And I want UFO Truth Magazine to be the top publication in the world because of the caliber of people who's writing for it. That's my lofty ambition. Whether it happens, I don't know, but that's my ambition. So I think I've got to really focus on the magazine at the moment. But yes, at some point I will do a book.
All right, good. And we're down to about the last 10 minutes, Gary. I guess one of the most important questions to sort of, round things up on, based on all your research, I know you consider that, a small percentage or a percentage of UFO sightings are evidence of extraterrestrial visits. What do you feel is sort of the purpose behind these visits or the presence here? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time I never used to say anything because people would ask me at conferences and whatever, but I'd say, look, I really just concentrate on trying to show you the best evidence. It's not really for me to do that, but people do kind of ask you as more prominent that you become, people do look for kind of direction from you. So what I would say is there are a few things after 60 years of the modern era of UFOs, from say 45 onwards, and the Foo Fighters, the Second World War, so we're looking at almost 70 years really in that respect. In the modern era, there is a preponderance of sightings that link UFOs to an interest in nuclear weapons, nuclear bases, nuclear power plants. Now, you could argue why, and the most logical reason is that perhaps they don't want to see the Earth destroyed for whatever reason. I tend to think that that's probably true. I think they've been around for a long time. In the modern era, you'd have to say that on the whole, it would appear to be benign, although if you take the abduction scenario seriously, which I do, and the animal mutilation aspect is real, which I do, then you'd have to say, well, that's not very benign. And we don't really know what the agenda is. I think there are probably many species that come here, but the way I kind of look at why they're coming is, I think the best way to look at it is that we're a bit like the Great Barrier Reef. When everybody's heard of the Great Barrier Reef, and everybody says it's one of the great wonders of the natural world. When we go swimming to see in the Great Barrier Reef, we don't break off the coral, do we? Because we don't want to harm the environment, the natural habitat. And I think that in our neck of this part of the galaxy, that the Earth is pretty special in the sense that it's got vast amounts of water, life and fauna. And I think that makes it a bit of an oasis in our little bit of cosmic neighbourhood. And I think that's why they come here, whether it's an element of space tourism, whether it's we just surveil. We could be like ants, so primitive on the scale of things. We have to have an open mind here. The people that say, we're at the centre of the universe, it's absolute rubbish. We're just at the start of our evolutionary phase in terms of being sentient beings. And so who knows where we're going to be in our consciousness in 1,000 years' time. The reality is that if other species have developed, then we might just be cosmic ants who've just come on the radar, probably because of the atomic bomb going off. That probably sent a shockwave, and they thought, oh, that little nice planet with all its life and fauna, well, they've now developed a technological capability to destroy themselves and the planet. Well, we don't like that because we like going to that planet. We like studying the Great Barrier Reef. And I think that's kind of where you've got to look at it. There's a much bigger picture going on, and I think we're just very small pawns, and there's a lot to be discovered in the next few years.
Okay. And do you think the phenomenon itself will ever reveal itself to us, or do you think it's up to us to kind of keep pushing for answers?
I think I think UFOs operate on extremely many different levels. I concentrate on the physical side of things, trying to prove in the media that there are nuts and bolts sightings and dogfights and whatever, and structured craft, because the evidence is there. But also there is the abduction side, but there is also the people who are spiritual, who are able to communicate. Now, it's not something I can do. I've never tried to do it. But I know many people who are credible people who say they can do it. So who am I to say that it's not one aspect of communication? Just because I can't do it doesn't mean that it's not real. So I just concentrate on the physical aspects, but I think that it works on many, many different levels, and there are people who can channel and communicate with E.T. I can't, never tried, but who's to say that it's real or not? But I think that it's a very complicated issue. There are, many different facets to it that you can't just describe in a minute or two of conversation. It's very complicated, but I think, is there any evidence that there is a physical side to it? Yes, there is, and that's where I come from. Because I'm trying to take on the media that said that as a 15-year-old, when I had my sighting, that there's nothing to this subject, and yet straight away, as a 15-year-old, I'm reading about pilots engaging in dogfights with structured craft and firing their weapons at the craft. I mean, there was an absolutely perfect example of what I would say the reality of the physical nature of UFOs is. At the citizens' hearing, there was a Peruvian pilot called Colonel Oscar Santa Maria, and he came on and he told his first-hand experience of being vectored towards a radar-confirmed UFO in broad daylight, and he saw it, and he initially thought it was a balloon, and he was told to fire his machine guns at it, which he did. He let off 64 rounds, and it had no effect, and he expected it to blow up because he thought it was a balloon. And then suddenly, this object suddenly went up into the air vertically at high speed by about 10,000 feet in a few seconds. He then went to follow it. It jumped again, and he ended up with an 18-minute dogfight with a structured object. Now, and the rounds didn't have any effect. Now, you cannot get better testimony as to the reality of the physical nature of this subject than that. So whilst there are many aspects to it, spiritual, different, transcendental, etc., there is certainly a physical side. What it is, for certain, I don't know, but for me, it's certainly not anything that we've got constructed on Earth.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, we're down to the wire. We've got just a couple of minutes to go, so I'll just give out your information again, or part of it, then I'll leave the rest to you. We've got the PRUFOS police database, which can be accessed at PRUFOS, PRUFOS, policedatabase.co.uk, where you can find details of many of the reports that Gary's investigated and logged. And, Gary, do you want to tell people again, just remind them of the name of the magazine and the website where they can obtain it?
Yeah, the magazine's all up and running now. First issue free. It's a bi-monthly easy. It's called UFO Truth Magazine. Put it into Google, any search engine, it will come back straight away as the top of Google, and it will take you straight to the website. UFO Truth Magazine, written as one word, .com. Take you to the website, and there you can download the first issue for free and take and have a read and engage and see the quality of the articles that's in there. And if anybody wants to email me, they can email me at Heseltine Gary, my name in reverse, at hotmail.com. I'll give you my mobile, 07970364368. I have nothing to hide. I'm here, and I'm just trying to really get the message out that there is a lot to this subject, and it's very credible.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Gary. I mean, really, I think we covered an amazing amount of ground, and also it's clear to me, that you're what we need, somebody who's passionate and enthusiastic and who's trying to kick open doors and follow, pretty much every avenue to get the word out, which is what we need, and I think you're doing a great job with everything that you're doing, so that's good.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to help launch the magazine, because, like any new venture, it needs the air of publicity to make it work and let people know. So I appreciate you on, and I want to say that I'm a big fan of your earliest works. Cosmic Crashes and Covert Agenda, fantastic books. Covert Agenda is one of my top 10 books in the subject.
Oh, thanks, Gary. Thanks a lot. Thank you. All righty, well, we're just literally down to the wire now, so I'd just again like to thank Gary Heseltine very much for coming on the show tonight, and to thank all the listeners as well. I'm Nick Redfern for Epic Voyages. Be sure to tune in next week at 8 p.m. Central, right here on Inception Radio Network. Good night.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.